Miss Jones, um, are you recording the court hearing, or you just typing on your phone? Yeah, so I'm gonna make a quick announcement for everyone, for the judge before she comes on. If you are in your bed, you need to get out of your bed. This is an official court hearing. Once the judge gets on here, she's gonna tell me to remove you from the Zoom, and I'm not gonna let you back in. If you're in your car and you're driving, you need to pull over to the side of the road. The judge is going to ask you all to stay muted until we get to the case that you're here for. She's also going to ask you to turn your cameras off. So if I turn your camera off, I'm going to have to request to turn your camera back on. So it'll be best if you turn your own camera off until we get to the case that you are here for. So, Miss Jessica, you need to get out of your bed.
All right, let's get started. Okay, great. Who do we have to? Miss Bridgewater, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
All right, January 16th?
You got it.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are going to commence with our expedited accusation calendar for these newly accused criminal misdemeanor cases. Individuals who were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail, their cases have now been formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County. Hence, this would be the defendant's initial appearance, at which time I will inform the defendant of his or her case number, the charges brought against him or her, to set a bond, and to provide you with a court date if necessary. With regards to bond, some of you may qualify for what we call a signature bond, for which you would not have to pay for the bond today, but you will have to comply with certain conditions in order to maintain your signature bond status. Otherwise, others would receive what we call a surety bond, a good bond, or a cash bond. In those particular cases, you would have to pay for the bond either through a bonding company or out of your own pocket in order to secure a release. For certain individuals, your next court date will be January 16th, 2025 at 9 a.m. That will be a Zoom proceeding. So those who plan to attend must make sure they get the Zoom link for your next court date. Folks who have been accused of one or more misdemeanor charges, and my video went off, so sorry about that. Let's see if I can get it working. Not quite sure. Okay. Give me a moment, see what's going on in my video. Okay, that's better. As I was saying, for those of you who are charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember that while we are addressing your case during this open court virtual proceeding, you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. So if you want to say anything about your case, please make sure that you discuss this privately with your attorney. Every individual has a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Okay, courtroom 2, I'm going to begin with medical. Medical, who do we have?
This is position number 13, Tucker.
Okay, thank you. This is Mr. Allison Tucker, accused of criminal trespass from January 2nd, 2025. Mr. Tucker, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Haddad. This is Mr. Tucker's 10th arrest cycle. Any open cases, Mr. Howard?
2024 trespass, 2024 open burglary out of Henry County. And he had a 2024 disorderly conduct obstruction. That's all, nothing for.
All right. I don't see any FTAs on his priors, but Ms. McCakey, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation, given the defendant's arrest history and open cases, is a $500 surety bond. Stay away from all MARTA locations in compliance with any bans. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. He was caught trespassing at the MARTA property located at 30 Alabama Street with an active suspension that doesn't expire until the 14th of February. He was told multiple times to leave and refused to do so, which is why he was arrested.
All right, Mr. Haddad?
Your Honor, on behalf of my client, he reports he's 29 years of age. He's employed at Walmart down in Peachtree City. He's been employed for about a month. He lives down in Sharpsburg with family, Judge. He's from the metro area. I would ask the court to consider as long of a bond as possible, if not pretrial, Judge. Thank you.
And you say he's got a good address?
He does, Judge. And I wrote it down. If you give me 1 second, I seem to have lost it. Just 1 second, Judge.
All right. Or medical can unmute and confirm his current residential address with us.
40 White Shark Cove, Sharpsburg, Georgia.
How far is that from Atlanta?
37 minutes, so 20 something miles.
And you cannot use MARTA, so how do you plan to travel to Atlanta?
I have on my phone, I had got my direct deposit on Friday, and I was trying to make an Uber home when I get to all my things.
Bond is going to be set at $1,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. Mr. Tucker, I'm going to give you an opportunity to use that Uber app or whatever app, because you can't use MARTA until all active suspensions have been lifted. So before you get back onto any MARTA station, train, or bus, you might want to confirm with a MARTA police officer whether there are any active suspensions against you. You might want to check after Valentine's Day this year. But in the meantime, if you get arrested again, or if you don't report to pretrial once a month, your signature bond will be revoked and converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor, what level is that?
Level 1.
Thank you.
Next, we can go with position number 5, Ms. Dillard.
Holly, that's per judge.
Yes. Because of the open cases. All right. Dillard, okay, got it. This is Arnisa Shanice Dillard, accused of simple battery family violence under case 25 CR 858. Ms. Dillard, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Bader. And I understand this is the first arrest. Mr. Ham, Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year, Your Honor. Thank you.
And what's your recommendation with me?
Your Honor, the state's recommendation is a signature bond to have no further contact with Arnett Barber, which is the defendant's mother, to stay away from the incident location of 250 Willow Park Trail in South Fulton, to have no firearms, drugs, or alcohol, and to have a one-time police escort back to that location to retrieve her personal belongings.
All right. And Ms. Bader, Happy New Year. And
Happy New Year.
And does your client have any objections to the stay away?
We don't have an objection to that, Judge, as long as she can return to the location to retrieve her belongings.
Okay. On the simple battery family violence, the bond is going to be set at $2,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. She's to have no further contact with Annette Barber, stay away from the incident location. She's allowed a one-time visit with a police officer to 250 Willow Park Trail in order to retrieve her personal belongings. That visit cannot exceed 1 hour. Within 30 days, she must provide the court with a residential address where we can send her court dates and her summons. Is your client employed, Ms. Bader?
She's currently interviewing. She was working as a flight attendant, and she's interviewing at a different airline right now. But she does have an alternate address where she can live with a friend in Stone Mountain.
Okay, as long as she provides us that new address in writing. She will need to attend and complete 2 anger awareness classes and make sure she reports to pretrial once a month. Failure to report, failure to comply with the conditions, or getting arrested again will result in her bond being revoked. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 12, Ms. Todd.
This is Lanicia Monet Todd, accused of misdemeanor terroristic threats and acts from September 28, 2024. Her accusation number is 25 CR 87G. Ms. Todd, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney will be Mr. Haddad. I understand this is her 5th arrest cycle. Anything to add?
2023 FTA, 2020 ag assault that was dismissed, 2018 affray, she got PTI, and should have gone to felony earlier for felony obstruction. I'm not sure what the bond was.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what's going on with my video. There we go. Okay. And Ms. Mulcahy?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened at 200 Cleveland Avenue Southwest, which is the Church's Chicken restaurant. The victim in this case is Lakeisha McDonald. The defendant had been sending the victim threatening text messages throughout the day of the incident, asking if she wanted to fight, telling her if you have something to say, meet when you get off work at 11. I'll show you, things like that. The defendant then showed up at the victim's job, which is the Church's Chicken, got out of her vehicle and approached the door. The victim exited the building with a pan of hot grease, at which time the defendant went back into her car and the victim threw the grease at the defendant's car. Some of the grease landed on the defendant and she sustained grease burns to her arm. Warrants were taken out on both parties here. Our office has spoken with Ms. McDonald, who confirms everything in the warrant, says the defendant is best friends with her child's father. She hasn't had any contact since this incident, but she is afraid of the defendant and she is planning on getting a TPO just to avoid any future issues. The state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, Lakeisha McDonald. Stay away from that incident location. Stay away from the victim's residence, wherever that may be. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would ask the court to sound for Miss Lakeisha McDonald.
Ms. McDonald, if you are present or if there's anyone present who wants to address this case, please unmute and start your video. All right, Mr. Haddad, and anything to add?
Yes, Judge.
I don't know who that is. Go ahead, Mr. Haddad. They need to start their video before they can speak.
Judge,
Keisha McDonald.
All right, Ms. McDonald, lower your device so we can see your face. Okay, and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your name?
Lakeisha McDonald.
You can put your hand down. And what would you like to tell us?
Basically the same thing that she said, just keep Lanesia away from me. I will keep you out. And basically that's it. Just don't come around me. She keep her distance, I keep my distance, and everything should just go fine from there.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry about that, Mr. Haddad.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, Judge. May I speak?
Yes,
didn't mean
please.
to interrupt. I apologize, Judge. My client is 26 years of age, Judge. She is from the Atlanta area. Has been working at Amazon for the last 2.5 years in delivery warehouse. The good news is, Judge, is this incident, this happened back in September. They've not had any contact with each other. So stay away is really not an issue. The alleged victim does have a pending, I believe, aggravated assault. I'm not sure if she has been arrested yet, but in any event, Judge, I would just ask under the circumstances just to stay away, of course, but as low of a bond as possible, if not pretrial services, Judge.
Okay. Just for your information, Mr. Haddad, she's got an open felony case, 25 PI 000102. And presently, she's in a no bond status with regards to that case. With regards to this case, she's got a $1,000 surety bond. She doesn't qualify for a signature bond, given her failure to appear within the last 4 years. And her next court date will be January 16th, 2025 at 9 a.m. No further contact with Lakeisha McDonald, to stay away from the Church's Chicken Restaurant in place, and she's to also stay away from any location where Miss McDonald lives, works, or happens to be standing. Ms. Todd, you have an open felony case and now an open misdemeanor case. If you want to waive your right to remain silent and say something, you could end up incriminating yourself and making it very difficult for your attorney to represent you. So would you like to say something or exercise your right to remain silent?
Ms. Todd, I just suggest not say anything. You don't want to hurt your case in any way.
All right, thank you. The next court date is January 16th. Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 2, Mr. Booker. No, you left it up there. Which is certificate 6.
Jermaine Booker is accused of battery, family violence from October 23rd, 2024, under case 25CR83F. Mr. Booker, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney, it will be Ms. Bader. I understand he's got 22 arrest cycles. Anything else to add, Mr. Howard?
I think he went to felony earlier for armed robbery. He has bench warrants. On probation for riot and penal institution. On probation in Clayton County for theft by taking. FTAs from 2020, 2019, 2021.
Thank you. Mr. Ham, what's your recommendation? I'm sorry, please unmute.
Apologize. Your Honor, the state's recommendation is a $2,000 surety bond to have no further contact with Quenisha Jackson, no drugs, weapons, or alcohols on firearms while on probation. In addition to that, I believe he also has an open Cobb County case, possession of controlled substance, possession of knife or gun, and willful obstruction. Um, this case is, well, this incident happened on October 23rd, 2024, where the defendant in this case hit her, Quenisha Jackson, with a vise on her right hand, and it left a visible abrasion, Your Honor. The two parties share a child together. So based upon those facts, his history, his open cases, and his failure to appear, the state's asking for those recommendations.
Ms. Bade?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Booker is 26 years old. He's been in Atlanta all his life. He's got ties to the community. He has a good address in Forest Park, at his aunt's house. He's graduated high school. He is gainfully employed at Westside Works Construction. And as you heard, this incident date is from October. They do share a child, so who is 2 years old. We have no objection to the stay away, as he resides elsewhere. And we have no objection to the no contact. We would respectfully ask for a third-party transfer if the court would allow that of the child. And we're requesting a $1,000 bond in this case. Thank you.
And how old is the child?
The child is 2 years old, and he is the main financial provider as well.
Okay. Mr. Booker, unfortunately, because of your open felony case and your multiple bench warrants and failures to appear, you do not qualify for a signature bond. Your bond is presently going to be set at $2,000. It is a surety bond. You are to have no further contact with Quenisha Jones. You are to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You cannot share a home with her, so you'll need to update us with a new mailing address within 30 days of being released from jail. If you plan to have any contact with the child or children that you share with Ms. Jones, you need to file a separate legitimation action and get a court order with regards to joint visitation and custody. I'm not going to allow for third-party transfer unless you've got a legitimation court order. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And your next court date would be January 16th. Thank you.
Next, we go to position 4, Mr. Bryant.
This is State versus Derek Bryant. His case number is 25 CR 84B, accused of battery, family violence, from January 2nd of this year. Mr. Bryant, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Ms. Vader. And I understand this is his 5th cycle.
We got 6 total.
Okay. Anything to add?
He had a 2024 carjacking out of Florida. It was dismissed. 2023 burglary dismissed. 2023 vehicle theft and drug charge. He's a resident of Miami, Florida.
Okay. Mr. Ham, anything to add?
Your Honor, the state is asking for a $1,500 surety bond to have no further violent contact with Renaya, excuse me. Renaya Lee, Raniya. She is the defendant's sister in this case. They have no firearm, drugs, weapons, or alcohol. This incident happened at January 2nd, 2025 at 4631 Legacy Square. The warrant alleges that the brother and sister were arguing about her driving ability, the sister's driving ability. There's an indication in the warrant that Miss Lee tried to leave and go upstairs, and the defendant followed her and then ran towards her and punched her in the face. She then threw a baby swing at her brother, but hit her mom. And then her mom left the scene, and then she grabbed the bottle to defend herself. And somehow the bottle got busted, and she wound up having a laceration on her foot. We did speak to Miss Lee this morning. She said that they were just playing, and that her mom is the one who called the cops, and her mom didn't know that that's the reason, that they were just playing around. But obviously that's different than what she told the police at that time. So based upon the allegations, his history, we made the following recommendation.
All right. Ms. Lee, did you have something to add?
Miss Lee, her name is Yee. She's not here, but I am the stepmom and this is the mother. I just want to.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Are you, neither one of you are the victims in this case?
No, we're the mother.
Okay, who would like to speak?
I want to speak first.
Raise your right hand.
But I want to speak as well.
Raise your right hand, both of you.
Oh, go both of us.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Where are you zooming from?
Home.
Where's home?
The 4631 Legacy Square.
4631 Legacy Square?
Correct.
And this is in Atlanta?
Yes, ma'am.
In Georgia, when you appear in court, you don't wear a hat.
Oh, I have a tape, but all right, I'll take it off.
Thank you. All right.
Your Honor, first of all, I just want to say that first and foremost, he's more than welcome home. It's okay for him to come home. He's not, I guess, not a juvenile in Georgia because we are from Miami, but he stays in Atlanta, Georgia. Him and his sister had a dispute. They was mad, but we want him to come back home, and that's why we both here on Zoom, as well as if you don't want him at the residence, I have a residence as well.
What is he doing in Atlanta?
Excuse me?
What is he doing in Atlanta?
Live here. He live here.
Where does he work?
He don't work. He don't have a job.
And where does he go to school?
He was going to Creekside, but then he left to Miami. So I haven't enrolled him back. He just came back.
I'm sorry, he didn't finish high school?
Not yet. No, he's in 11th grade.
And how old is he?
17.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bader, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Bryant is 17 years old. Just to clear up some of the confusion, his grandmother lives in Miami, Florida, and his mother lives in East Point, Georgia. So it's my understanding that he was recently living with his grandmother, going to school in Miami, and then returned to East Point to be with his mother, and they're in the process of transferring his school here very recently, I think right around even the holidays.
Correct.
And so he is in 11th grade. He's only 17 years old. It's true. The complaining witness is his sister, who is 4 years older than him. It is my understanding that she wants contact. We're objecting to a stay away, and we're objecting to no further contact. And we're asking for a signature bond or for the bond to not exceed $1,000. We do not think the stay away is necessary. We wouldn't object to an anger awareness class.
Well, if I put him on pretrial, he'll be in Miami. How do we plan to do that? Because I'm not going to allow for telephonic, or it'll have to be in person.
Well, Judge, if there's not a
what I gathered from mom and sister, he's living with them at Legacy Square.
The Legacy Square address is in East Point, Georgia, Judge.
Is it a temporary address, or is he a resident of Miami planning to go back in the very near future?
No, it's my understanding that he's planning to transfer his school in Georgia to Georgia.
Transfer to Georgia.
Correct.
Makes it easier. Thank you. All right. On the battery family violence for Derek Bryant, that's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. We'll need his mom. Is that his mom or stepmom? Unmute. I'm sorry. Was it mom or stepmom?
I'm mom.
I'm stepmom.
Okay. I need mom to co-sign the bond. What's your name, ma'am? The mother.
Estrada.
Repeat.
Jessica Estrada.
Jessica Estrada?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Howard, the co-signer's name is Jessica Estrada. And Mr. Estrada, if you can put your email in the chat feature, we'll be able to send you the paperwork for you to sign the co-signer requirements.
Okay.
$3,000 signature bond through pretrial. You listening, Mr. Bryan, or you gone to sleep? Are you listening or have you gone to sleep?
I'm listening.
Good. $3,000 signature bond for pretrial. Mom will have to co-sign. He reports to pretrial once a month. He's to have no violent contact with his sister and any other occupant in his home. His home as a present time is the Legacy Square location. If he changes his address, he will need to update the court of his new address immediately and in writing. He is to continue with high school or continue with a GED program within 30 days of being released from jail. Also, within 45 days of being released from jail, he will enroll and complete a domestic violence intervention program. This is a series of 26 classes, and he will need to attend each and every class without skipping or missing any of those classes and pay for those classes out of his own pocket. He will present the certificate of completion to his pretrial officer once all 26 classes are done. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And presently, he's subject to a curfew. He has to be home by 6 p.m. and he cannot leave until after 6 a.m. So it's 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew. His next court date will be sent to the Legacy Square location. So I don't know if that's the address we have on file. Ms. Bader, your client will need to make sure that's the address we have on file. Thank you.
Understood.
Per Judge Holly.
Is it an open case? I thought everything was dismissed.
It was, but this is, I don't know. He's how old is he? 17?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got too much going on for a 17-year-old. They dismissed, but I feel safe to just per judge.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right, Ms. Estrada, once you've sent your email in, you're both free to go. Next case, please.
Petition number 1, Mr. Billingsley.
Jermaine Billingsley is accused of battery, family violence, and battery against a female who is pregnant from March 18th, 2024. His case number is 25CR82D. Mr. Billingsley, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Bader. I understand this is his 5th arrest cycle. Anything to add?
2020 parole, 2017 possession of a controlled substance.
Okay.
Parole, 2016 parole. State, that 2011 capital case, was that a conviction?
No, it was not Frost.
It was, okay, because GCIC didn't stay, but I did see he went to prison afterwards, so I'm not sure for what charge it was.
It was for violation of Controlled Substance Act.
Thank you.
Mr. Ham, what's your recommendation for Mr. Billingsley?
Yes, Your Honor. This case stems from an incident that happened between Mr. Billingsley and his girlfriend at the time, who was 5 months pregnant, Tynesha Jones, Tynesha Jones. She indicated that they got into a verbal altercation, that Mr. Brown had cashed out himself $450 from her account by using her phone. Mr. Billingsley had cashed out himself $450 from her account by using her phone. That resulted in a verbal altercation. He came home. He placed her in a chokehold. He began to drag her around and pull her hair. And then he let her go. And then he did it again. He grabbed her hair and pulled her and dragged her back inside. And she said she was going to call police, and she did eventually call the police. Based upon that, his history, the state is asking for a $1,500 surety bond. No further contact with Tynesha Jones, no drugs, alcohols, or firearms on his person, Your Honor. And if we can sound for Ms. Tynesha Jones.
Ms. Jones, if you are on Zoom, please unmute and start your video if you want to say something. 25 PR 83. Ms. Bader, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Billingsley is 40 years old. He's been in Atlanta his whole life. He has a good address where he can receive mail. He's a high school graduate and he is gainfully employed cutting hair and doing landscaping, which he's done consistently for 8 years. He denies being in a relationship, having been in a relationship that at that particular time with Miss Jones. They share a child and he denies these allegations. We don't object to a stay away to the incident location. Our requests would be no further violent contact or a third party transfer of the child. And we're just asking for the lowest reasonable bond. Thank you.
And how old is the child that he shares with Miss Jones?
I believe 6 months.
5 months, January 8th, sometime.
So 5 months. Yep, she was 5 months pregnant allegedly at the time of the incident. So on April 1st, 6 months. All right. On the battery family violence, count 1, that's going to be a $2,000 surety bond. On count 2, that's going to be a $1,500 surety bond. His total bond is $3,500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is January 16th. No further contact with Miss Tynesha Jones to stay away from the incident location at 3901 Campbellton Road, to stay 200 yards away from Miss Jones and any child or children that she presently has. If he wishes to have any kind of visitation or custody with the child he shares with her, he must file a legitimation action and obtain a court order to establish visitation, custody, and child support. Ms. Bader, your client's open case presently is 25 PI 000083, where he's presently in a no bond status. Thank you.
Next, we could go to position number 6, Mr. Hudson. There we go. Y'all slide around that row.
This is State versus Reginald Hudson. Mr. Hudson's case is 25 CR 93G, accused of battery, family violence, and simple battery from January 2nd, 2025. Mr. Hudson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Bader. I understand this is his 26th arrest cycle. Anything else to add?
2022 simple battery conviction, 2018 battery conviction. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Ham?
So, Your Honor, he has a 2018 battery family violence conviction under case number 18 CR 005755A. So technically, this should be a felony. We did send that request over to the felony division and have not received a response yet. So at some point, this case may be upgraded to a felony based upon his previous conviction.
And what's your bond recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened on January 2nd, 2025. Police responded to the incident location in East Point twice. The first time they met with the victim, Miss Terrell Evans, TerrellEvans. She was outside. They were able to locate lacerations and bruises on the side of her face. She would not speak to the police, but she did give the defendant's name. The police left and then returned back to that same incident location once another 911 call was placed. This time they spoke to Miss Jamyra Bromell, Jamyra Bromell, Bromell. She indicated that the victim and the defendant was arguing, and she witnessed the defendant punch the victim in the face. She jumped in to try to prevent that from happening, and he wound up choking her, and she fell to the ground. Based upon his previous convictions for battery family violence, Based upon this incident, where one of the victims, Miss Bromell, the one to whom he choked, was indicated she was pregnant at the time, the state is asking for a $3,000 surety bond, to have no further contact with Ms. Terrell Evans, to have no further contact with Ms. Jamira Bromell, to have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol or firearm on his persons.
Ms. Badin?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Hudson is 38 years old. He does have a good address in Atlanta where he's been for about 5 months, and he's been in Georgia for 11 years. I will say that Miss Evans, this is the incident location. Miss Evans was visiting around the holidays and resides in St. Petersburg, Florida. He is a supervisor at the Bobby Dodd Institution for Custodian Maintenance, and he's been in this position for 5 months. And prior to that, he's done construction work. He did graduate high school and attend some college. So, Judge, we're objecting vehemently to a stay away as this is his address. And we're asking for the bond not to exceed $2,000. Thank you.
See, let's see. I'm just looking at the police report just to see what's the address that we have on the alleged victims. Do you have that, Mr. Ham? Because I have.
The address that's listed on the citation is the same address that the defendant has, which is the incident location.
I've got the victim's address as Dunlop Avenue as well.
Yes.
Okay. On count one, the battery family violence, that's going to be 3,000. On the simple battery is 2,000. That's a $5,000 surety bond. Next court date is January 16. No further contact with Terrell Evans and Jemiah Bromell. He's allowed a one-time visit to the Dunlop Avenue location in order to either verify that Miss Evans and Miss Bromell do not live there, then he can enter the property. Or if they do reside there, then he would need to stay away from that location and update the court with his new mailing address within 30 days of being released from jail. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And his next court date is going to be January 16. Is Miss Bromell or Miss Evans present on Zoom by any chance? Would they be able to? No? Okay. Next case.
Next, we go to position number 9, Mr. Negron.
It's the state versus Jamarcus Negron, accused of simple battery from July 27th, 2024, case number 25CR79G. You have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Haddad. I understand this is his second arrest cycle. Is he a resident of Georgia?
I think the booking said Georgia, but yeah, this arrest is out of Cali for battery on a spouse. State, you got something different, extra? That's all I have.
No, that's all I have as well.
All right. Anything to add then, Mr. Hand?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened on July 27th, 2024. The defendant is accused of going into a corner store located at 1884 Sylvan Road, and punching the victim in this case in her face and pushing her down to the ground. The victim's name is Jamika Facey, Junmika Facey. She indicates, we were able to reach out to her and did speak to her. She indicates that they're still currently in a relationship. So based upon that, she's indicated she's not afraid of the defendant. So we're asking for a signature bond, no further violent contact with Jamika Facey, to have no firearm, drugs, alcohols, or weapons, Your Honor.
Mr. Haddad, is your client living in Griffin, Georgia? Is that his current address?
Judge, that's the address that he reported to me. His mother resides there. That's the address that he gave. We don't have an objection to the state's requests and the conditions, Judge.
Bond is set at 2,000, a signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. No violent contact with Ms. Facey, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you.
Next we go to position number 7, Mr. King.
Could you repeat the name again, please?
King.
King? Okay. This is State versus Blaine King. Mr. King is accused of criminal trespass from January 2nd of this year under accusation 25 CR 81Y. Mr. King, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Ms. Bader. I understand that he's got 2 open felony cases at the present time, and this is his 5th cycle. Mr. Ham, what's your recommendation?
Your Honor, because he's on bench warrant status on 2 open felony cases, 24 SC 001135, burglary and giving false name, and also a fail to appear warrant was issued on 24 SC 003313, aggravated battery. The state's recommendation is $1,000 surety bond. Stay away from the incident location of 2621 Hightower Court, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia. And I have no further contact with the victim in this case, Jerome Snipes.
Okay. Ms. Bader?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. King is 22 years old. He is born and raised in Atlanta. However, he does come from a broken household and is a child of foster care. So while he doesn't have parental relationships, he is in touch with his sister, whose phone number she does have in his phone, which is in the jail custody. He does have an interview tomorrow at 10 a.m. at McDonald's. I understand he has an FTA holding him. He denies the allegations in this particular case. We understand this is not his trial, but just so you know, we believe that there might be an identity issue in this particular case. We would be fine with no contact with the victim. He doesn't know who that is, fine with a stay away. Due to his circumstances, he wouldn't be able to afford any bond. We're respectfully requesting a signature bond, especially considering the charge. Thank you.
Bond is set at $1,000. It is a surety bond, given his 2 open felony cases and his bench warrant status. Doesn't qualify for a signature bond. Stay away from the 2621 Hightower Court and no contact with Jerome Snipes. Next court date is January 16th.
Next we go to position number 14, Mr. Wang.
Mr. Wang, do you speak English, sir? I don't mean to be rude.
He does, Judge.
Thank you. This is Mr. Yifan Wang, accused of simple battery family violence from January 3rd, 2025. Mr. Wang, your case number is 25CR92H. You have been advised of your right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, the statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney and representing you presently.
Go. Hey, read that case. Y'all talking about there.
Hi, right now, so we don't have the attorney yet, but I can make some statement.
Not yet. Not
Yeah,
yet.
okay. Yes, this like
Not yet, Mr. Devon. Not yet.
Go ahead, Your Honor. My bad.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Devon Wong, can you hear me? I'm Judge Law. You need to remain quiet until I let you speak. Thank you. All right. Mr. Wong, I understand this is his 7th arrest cycle. He appears to have an open case in Florida. Anything else to add, Mr. Howard?
Open case on probation for robbery. 2022, a couple of probation violations out of Florida. That's it.
Okay. And Ms. Mokeke, what is your recommendation?
State's recommendation is going to be for a $1,500 surety bond, no further violent contact with the victim, anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. This incident happened at 230 Battersea Point in Johns Creek. The victim is Yufan Wong, Yufan, who is the defendant's 14-year-old brother. The defendant was upset because the victim's cat had brought fleas into the home and the victim was not helping to clean up. He was instead locked in his room playing video games. The defendant admitted to officers that he went in his brother's room, forcefully pulled him out of his chair, and tried to get him to participate in the cleaning. At the point that he grabbed and pulled his brother out of the chair, they began fighting until their parents came and broke it up. There was also a broken window in the home. The victim did tell officers that during the altercation, his elbow hit the window, which is what caused it to break. Our office spoke with the defendant's father, who confirms the events in the warrant, stated that the defendant isn't a bad person. He stated that the victim, the defendant's brother, doesn't fear him, and the dad requested that the defendant return home. I would just ask the court to sound for the victim's parents.
Well, there they are. All right. Mr. Jordan, if you can prompt Devin Wong to unmute, that would be, you'll be able to unmute his panel. All right, Mr. Devin Wong, if you'd like to testify, please raise your right hand. Other right hand. Yep. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yeah.
What would you like to tell us, sir?
So like because my younger son is Yufan, he like spends the whole day to play the video game at his room. And like my brother, because he love him, and he want him to have a break and do something else like sports activities or like walking outside. And he attempt to put William away from his seat because the computer is very close to the window, and in the process, my younger son like airball was like broken the window glasses, and yeah, so there's no any physical hurt on my younger son. Yeah, so my wife was in the room at that time, and because she's like weak, he can't like separate them. So that's the reason I came upstairs to like calm everything down. Ifan is like from Georgia Tech. It's like 3 years, grade 3, and he's very nice and responsible and hardworking. He's like he love his family, or also love his brother, because every time he come back from school or company, he brings some gift for his brother. Yeah, because then today my Yufan is just want to help his brother. That's not like reflect your relationship. Yeah. So and also like
How old is your son, Yifan?
Yufan is a 14.
No, your
Honor, he's 20. My client is 20.
Yeah, he's 20. Yeah, he's 20. Yeah.
He's 20 years old. He attends Georgia Tech.
He does, Judge.
Yeah, he's very silent. He just like get some intern in like a BMW and Tesla or something. Yeah, so he's very he just help his brother. Yeah, he's showing his love, showing his like careness for his younger brother. Yeah, because my second son, he's like a teenager. He's like a rebellion stage. So that's the reason my son want to help him. Yeah, so.
Does Yifan, Mr. Haddad, does your client live at Georgia Tech campus?
No, Judge, he lives with his parents, and I mean, I don't have access to GCIC, but I'm surprised if he does have a robbery conviction from Florida. I mean, that's news to me. I mean,
So I'm going to check on this. Ms. Mokeke, I have 7 arrest cycles for Mr. Wang, with an open case for robbery with a firearm and aggravated battery in Seminole County, Florida. Is that accurate?
When I looked at RGCIC this morning, I just had no record found.
Okay.
So
Let me look into it. Let me see. So y'all got first arrest?
well, it said no record found. So sometimes that could mean our GCIC isn't updated, or it could mean that it's his first arrest, but.
Okay.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, your
What's the date
honor.
of birth, Judge?
Mr. Devon, please keep quiet now. Okay.
What's the date of birth? Give me the date of birth.
Mr. Yifan Wong's date of birth is going to be January 21st, 2004. Got a birthday coming up.
I got October 11th, 2004.
Okay.
But this name is the exact same though.
It's a very common name, Judge. Just a quick Google search. There's a lot of Yifan Wang on Google, Judge. It's not uncommon.
Turn it up.
If you do a worldwide search, sure, you'll find about several million of them. Okay.
But no, it's just in the States, Judge.
Okay.
So,
all right, what's your recommendation, Mr. Haddad?
Your Honor, I would just ask a no violent contact, just released through pretrial services, Judge. That's my request.
All right, thank you.
Let me go with first arrest. That's fine.
Okay. Well, if it's his first arrest, then we would be okay with a signature bond.
Okay. For Mr. Yifan Wong on his bond, that's going to be a 1,500 signature bond through pretrial services, and that's going to be level 1. No further violent contact with the minor YW. I guess that's his 14-year-old brother. He may return to the home in Johns Creek, and no violent contact. Now, I'm talking to the defendant now. I'm not talking to his family. I'm talking to the defendant. No further violent contact means that from this point onwards, you're not allowed to have any physical or verbal altercation with your brother or any other member of your family. You are not responsible for disciplining anyone in that home. If there is a problem, that's your father's and mother's problem. That's not your problem. Do you understand? Because you made it your responsibility, and look where you are sitting right now, in Fulton County Rice Street Jail with handcuffs on, and you are a Georgia Tech student. That's not exactly a great start to your career. So I'm very serious. Don't make it your responsibility. Disciplining your sibling is your parents' responsibility, not yours. Understood?
I speak.
Within 45 days of being released from jail, you will enroll in a qualified domestic violence intervention program, and you will attend all 26 classes at your expense. You're not allowed to miss or skip any of those classes. Do you understand?
Yes, I do understand.
Okay. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and you're not allowed to own or possess any firearms. If there are any firearms that in the house, they must be removed. Otherwise, you would need to go find someplace else to live. Your next court date will be sent to your Battersea court address. If you change your address, you'll need to update the court within 30 days of changing your location. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, I do.
This is a criminal case against you. Exercise your right to remain silent and work with your attorney to resolve your case. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 3, Mr. Bowley. Okay, like Buali.
Okay. Mr. Wong, you are free to go. He'll be released within 24 hours from now.
Not you.
Reda Buali is accused of battery, family violence, and 2 counts of cruelty in the 3rd degree from January 3rd, 2025. His accusation is 25 CR 90J. Mr. Buali, you have a right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Haddad. And Mr. Buali has a first arrest. Ms. Mokeke, what's your recommendation?
The state's recommendation is a signature bond, no further contact with the victims, stay away from the incident location, and FVIP, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. The victims in this case are Debbie Buali, who is the defendant's wife, and his 2 minor daughters. Our office hasn't had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Bawali yet, which is why at this time we're recommending no further contact and a stay away. The parties were having an argument at the incident location when the defendant grabbed his wife's wrist so forcefully that it caused a laceration to her wrist. The victim told the defendant to let her go, and he refused to do so. The incident was witnessed by their two daughters, who are 10 and 16. I would ask the court to sound for Miss Debbie Bawali. I do see an individual with the last name Bawali on the Zoom.
All right. Debbie Bawali, if you're on Zoom, please unmute and start your video if you want to contribute to the proceedings. All right, Mr. Haddad.
No objection to release to pretrial services and a stay away. I actually did speak to the wife, and as an officer of the court, she indicated she wanted to stay away. He has a place to stay with his brother, who may be on. Do have a good number for one of his brothers, so that's not a problem. I would just ask the court to allow him a one trip back with the assistance of law enforcement to retrieve his immediate belongings, Judge.
Okay. On the battery matter, it's going to be a 2,500 bond. On each count of the cruelty is going to be 750. So his total bond is going to be 4,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services level 1. No further contact with Debbie Bawali. No further contact with his two minor daughters, the alleged victims, until further order of the court. He is to stay away from the Quail Brook Chase marital home until further order of the court, and he must update the court with his new mailing address, I guess with his brother's address, within 30 days of being released from jail. Within 45 days of being released from jail, he will enroll and complete a qualified domestic violence intervention program, and he must enroll in those classes within 45 days and present pretrial with his certificate of completion after he's completed all 26 classes, with no skips and not missing any of them. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. And he will be subject to random screens for illegal drugs and or alcohol.
Thank you, Judge.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we can go to position number 10, Mr. Roy. Rowe. Why am I saying that?
Gary Rowe is accused of violation of a family violence order. This is a misdemeanor status from January 3rd, 2025 under case 25 CR 91J. Mr. Rowe, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Mr. Haddad. Any priors? First arrest? Okay. Ms. Mokeke, where is this family violence order issued?
This is his second arrest. He appeared on SEA on Thursday, January 2nd. He was charged with 2 counts of battery family violence and 1 count of simple battery family violence for assaulting his wife with brass knuckles and striking her in the face with his hands several times. I believe that case number is 25 CR 0000. That's 4 zeros 24J. In that case, he was given a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services, ordered to have no further contact, stay away, undergo an ADET, and have a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his belongings. Upon his release, he immediately violated his bond by going back to that residence without a police escort around 2 a.m. He asked the victim, his wife, Miss Shannon Rowe, not to call the police. And when she told him that she'd already called the police, he grabbed his keys and fled the location. So the state's recommendation is a $1,000 cash bond since he just violated the signature bond he was given less than 48 hours ago. Stay away from the incident location. 425 Rocky Creek Drive in Roswell. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. We did speak to Miss Rowe, who confirmed the events in the warrant, stated that she didn't answer the door when he knocked, so he went through the garage and used a spare key to enter the home. She did say that he didn't threaten her or anything to that manner, but she does, of course, again, want no contact and wants him to stay away as he's already been ordered to do so. His belongings are still there, so he will need an actual police escort to go get those items.
Judge, I missed that one. Thank you, Tracy. I'm about to type up the bond surrender now.
Thank you.
Right.
And I would just ask the court to sound for Miss Rowe.
Ms. Rowe, if you are present, please unmute and start your video. Shannon Rowe? No, not present? Okay. Mr. Haddad?
No, on behalf of my client, I would ask the court to consider a $3,000 surety bond and a $3,000 surety bond on the other case, Judge. I mean, pretrial is going to obviously come off his bond, and I would like to address both at the same time, Judge. So, and a stay away obviously is a given, Judge. I think there were some circumstances with this case. I normally don't address the facts of the case. My client was getting a vehicle. He had nowhere to go. His phone wasn't working. That's not. I mean, bottom line is there's clearly evidence of violation of a court order. We are requesting nonetheless for a 6,000 total surety bond on both cases. I do have a friend of his who's would be willing to post bond for him. I just need to reach out to him after we're done. The friend does live in Sewanee, Judge. If not obviously not with the wife. The parties have been married for 40 years, Judge.
Okay. One-time escort to retrieve items and ADT. Was the Ms. Mokeke, was there an allegation of alcohol being involved?
Yes, there was, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, addressing the new case on the violation of Family Violence Protective Order, that's going to be a 2,500 surety bond. No further contact with Shannon Rowe. So, Mr. Gary Rowe, you are to stay 200 yards away from Mrs. Rowe. You cannot, I cannot repeat this any furthermore. You cannot return to 425 Rocky, is it Creek Drive in Roswell, Georgia. You are not to return there for a one-time visit. You're not to return there to get your stuff. You're not to return there to contact anyone. You cannot go back there to collect any keys or anything to that effect. I'll only allow a third party, such as a friend or someone, to collect his belongings in a box, and they can retrieve that from Mrs. Rowe at her convenience. But he himself, and this will only be a one-time visit, but Mr. Gary Rowe is not allowed anywhere within 200 yards of Shannon Rowe. He cannot call her. He cannot mail her anything. He cannot see her in person. No emails, no text messages, phone calls, nothing on social media. Do you understand? There's only a one-time third-party contact in order for that third party to retrieve his personal belongings, which can either be a car. It will be at Mrs. Rowe's convenience. She can decide what the third party can collect. On the case 25 CR 000024J, Judge Morrow had initially given him a $5,000 signature bond, and since the pretrial is coming off that bond, I'm going to amend that to a 3,500 surety bond. So, Mr. Haddad, you would need to provide me with an amended bond order for the older case. And the breakdown will be for count 1 is going to be 2,000. For count 2 is going to be 1,000, and count 3 will be 500. That will add up to 3,500 surety bond. Again, no further contact with Shannon Rowe. Stay away from the Rocky Creek Drive. I'm going to remove the one-time escort, so no visits to that location are allowed. Within 45 days of being released, Mr. Rowe must enroll in a domestic violence intervention program and provide the solicitor's office with a certificate of completion. And he must also enroll and complete an alcohol and drug evaluation and submit to any treatment that's required. and proof of the evaluation and treatment must be submitted to the solicitor's office, and that must, the alcohol and drug evaluation proof must be submitted within 30 days, and the certificate of completion must be submitted after 7 months. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 11, Mr. Thomas.
Now, this is a first arrest.
Okay. Marvis Thomas is accused of battery family violence from January 2nd of this year, and that's the only charge under accusation 25 CR 86Y. Mr. Thomas, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Mr. Haddad. This is a first arrest. Anything to add, Ms. McCarthy?
Yes, Your Honor. The victim in this case is Joangela Thomas, who is the defendant's mother. He's accused of pushing her and punching her in the face, which caused swelling to her eye. Our office did speak with Ms. Thomas, who told us this is the first time the defendant has been violent towards her. She states that he possibly has an alcohol problem, and she did request an evaluation. She confirmed the events in the warrant and confirmed that the defendant does live at the instant location. She states that she doesn't fear him, and she will allow him to come back to the home because he has no place else to live. She did clarify that he is a junior, and so she asked that that be corrected in our system. The state's recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services, no further violent contact with Joangela Thomas, that he undergo an FBIP, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would ask the court to sound for Miss Joangela Thomas.
Ms. Joangela Thomas, if you want to contribute, please unmute and start your video. I think it's on iPhone. Is that her? No? Okay. Mr. Haddad?
No objection to the release through pretrial services and no violent contact. I would just ask the court to consider perhaps anger management classes instead of the more expensive and involved DVIP, only because at this point, Judge, he's presumed innocent, Judge. I would just ask the court to consider an alternative in terms of
Understood. But if this is his first arrest and he does an FVIP, he opens himself up to the opportunity of pretrial diversion, and he will be already halfway down the way on that.
Understood.
Okay. Ms. Thomas, did you want to say anything?
I have anything to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marvis Thomas Jr. So, Mr. Howard, we need to make a note that he has a junior suffix to his name. On the battery family violence, that's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. Mr. Thomas, you can sign up for your bond, but you must comply with the following conditions. First of all, no further violent contact with Joangela Thomas. You're not to have any physical or verbal altercations as long as you live with Ms. Thomas. If you plan to vacate the premises and change your address, you will need to let us know your new address within 30 days of changing your address. Within 15 days of being released, you will enroll in an alcohol and drug evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment or counseling. Within 45 days of being released, you will enroll and complete a domestic violence intervention program. These are a series of 26 classes, and you must start those classes and complete all 26 classes without missing or skipping any of those classes. And you will need to have to pay for those classes out of your own pocket. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. Pretrial services will conduct random screens to make sure that you abstain from all illegal drugs and alcoholic beverages. And if you fail to comply or if you get arrested again for anything else, this $3,000 signature bond will be revoked and converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. Understood?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 15, Mr. White.
the name of a character from a series? Walter White? Okay.
It is, Judge.
Okay. All right. This is 25 CR 89E. Mr. Walter White is accused of disorderly conduct with regards to property. This is Mr. White's sixth arrest cycle. And Mr. White, you've also been advised of your right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and Mr. Haddad will be representing you. I don't see any FTAs. Are there any FTAs? No.
If they are there before 2015, I
Okay.
didn't see any
Forgery, tax receiving. Okay.
disorderly conduct, death by receiving. Yeah.
All right. And Ms. McKechnie, what's the recommendation?
The state's recommendation is a signature bond, no further contact with the victim, Michaela Sanders, who he shares a child with, stay away from the incident location, anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. He's accused of knocking the victim's phone out of her hand during an argument. The victim also told officers that the defendant threatened to kill her if she ever brought another man around his child. The victim confirmed the events in the warrant, confirmed that they're not in a relationship and don't reside together. She did ask for some anger management until the defendant can learn to control his temper because he is very temperamental. And she also indicated that they're currently going through child support and custody hearings. And at this point, she wants supervised visits for the defendant and their child because of his temper.
All right. Michaela Saunders, if you want to contribute to the proceeding, please unmute and start your video. Yes? No? All right. Mr. Haddad, any objection to with regards to visitation, supervised visitation?
No, Judge. I would just ask whatever the Superior Court orders as far as that. I'm not sure where they stand, but no objection to these signature bond through pretrial services, Judge. And stay away from Ms. Saunders.
Mr. White, your bond is set at $2,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. You will be assigned to a pretrial officer, and you're to report once a month. No further contact with Michaela Saunders. You're to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. You are not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and you are to attend and complete 4 anger awareness classes with pretrial services, 4 of them. You are not to have any contact with the children or child that you share with Ms. Saunders at all. You will have to wait until you get a legitimation court order to establish joint visitation, joint custody, and I'll let the Superior Court determine whether it shall be supervised visitation or whether you are allowed to have unsupervised visitation. Oh, the other thing I want to do is have random screens for illegal drugs or alcohol as well. And Ms. Saunders, if you're listening, if you want to obtain a protective order, you would need to go to Superior Court and obtain that through the Family Violence Division. All right, but in the meantime, Mr. White, please make sure that you comply with the conditions of this bond, because as you've already observed, failure to comply can result in a revocation of your bond. Thank you.
Position announcement on position number 8, Mr. Marino, his bond was paid.
Mr. Junior Moreno, what's going on with it?
Bond was paid.
Okay, so he made bond?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's right, so that's going to be further notice. I think we've addressed all the other cases. All right. Position number 1, Billingsley was a 3,500 surety bond, reset January 16. Position 2, Booker was a 2,000 surety, reset January 16. 3, Boali is a 4,000 signature bond to pretrial, level 1 with a DVIP. Position 4, Bryant is a 3,000 signature bond through pretrial and a DBIP requirement as well, and a cosigner. Position 5, Dillard, is a 2,000 signature bond to pretrial, level 1. Position 6, Hudson's a $5,000 surety bond, reset is January 16th. 7, King is a $1,000 surety, reset January 16th. 8, Moreno is released and further notice. 9, Negron is a $2,000 signature bond to pretrial, level 2. 10, Gary Rowe is a 2,500 surety bond, and his previous case is a 3,500 surety bond upon the surrender. Position 11, Marvis Thomas is a 3,000 signature bond to pretrial, level 1, FBIP and ADAT. 12, Todd is, did I write it down?
$1,000 good bond.
Oh, okay, there we go. $1,000 good bond, and reset date is January 16th. 13, Tucker is a 1,500 signature bond to pretrial, level 1. 14 is a 1,500 signature bond to pretrial, level 1 with the DVIP. That was Commissioner 14. 15 is a $2,000 signature bond to pretrial, level 1 with 4 anger management classes. And were there any other cases? No? All right, folks, we are done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge.
I will see some of you who might join me for my traffic calendar on Monday. And good luck with traffic on Monday. Remember, it's raining, so get an early start. Okay, I'm dreading it.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Take care. Take care.